everyone, Leilani Joy here, and welcome to the Paint Along, the series on Art Nouveau where you can paint along with me in real time while I answer your most burning questions. Hopefully you don't have anything burning, then hopefully you'll call your doctor and not me. Okay guys, well I haven't been here for a while, so, sorry, camera just turned off, but I'm excited to be back and I'm working on something very exciting. I can't wait to show you. If you guys have been following my Inktober series, you know that I have recently started doing some tribute pieces to my favorite ladies of all time, the Sailor Scouts from Sailor Moon, and you guys have no idea. I have been like geeking out so hardcore. I've been binge watching Sailor Moon and doing my Sailor Moon drawings, and it's like I'm 13 again and it's the best thing ever. Anyway, actually I should try and dig out some of my own Sailor Moon drawings. Maybe we'll do that on this episode because I think I have some, and we can do a little compare and contrast to these ones that are now several years later. I won't say how many. Anyway, I have some more questions to answer, and I can't wait to jump in, so let's go ahead and get started. So you can see here, I have a little lady in progress. Do you guys know which one this is? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Well, if you didn't figure it out, this is my interpretation of Sailor Venus, and I'm really excited to start painting on her. I just finished, if you saw my Inktober, I just finished my Sailor Mars and really like how she came out. She was so much fun to do. I really want to try and kind of incorporate a little bit of their personalities into the characters because, you know, sort of in the anime, they all sort of have the same face with like different colors. But like, I just kind of thought that that would be a fun thing to try to do in my versions. Anyways, while I was away for the 1 second, I went and got this giant folder. Let's check this out, you guys. So this is how dedicated I was when I was a kid. I was just, this is like all art from, I think, middle school through high school. And I know a lot of you guys has kind of requested to see some of my old work. So I'm going to crack it open. Woo! Oh shit, sorry. I'm gonna crack it open right here live on the paint along. Hopefully there's nothing too embarrassing in here. I can make no promises. I can show you guys like maybe more of this on another video. I told you guys I used to make comics. This is a comic that I devoted a lot of time to. Look how thick it was. I worked on it every day for like several years. It was kind of like a little bit of a biography story, I guess you will. Anyway, let's see if I can find some of my Sailor Moon stuff, because I did a lot of Sailor Moon. I kept everything that had Seth Green on it. I have this thing for him. Let's see. I know I like ponies. Oh my god, these folders are so embarrassing. God, where did I keep? I know I kept Sailor Moon. So, here we go. I started, which I never finished, my very own Sailor Moon comic. So let's see, I did this probably in high school, I think. So I made up these characters. This was supposed to be me, which was Sailor Callisto, and I made my sister Sailor Ilara, and those are moons, if you guys didn't know that. And I started this whole full color comic. I had no friends. Now you guys can see I worked. Oh, that's not a bad Darien there, actually. I wrote the whole story. I had all the characters. There's Sailor Venus. Oh my god, I haven't even read this. This was the villain that I designed right there. And then, what I was really proud of is I made these, like, my dad had a laminator, and I thought that was, like, the best thing ever. So I made these pages, where, like, I cut out their hand, you know, they put their hand up. And then if you turn the page, so Cosmic Moon Power, then here's her, transformation. Oh my god, you guys, I was so obsessed. And I did all of them. So I did Jupiter. And, oh, Mercury. I didn't finish poor Mercury. She was still in progress. I must have got sidetracked by something else. And then I had, like, a group shot with all of them. I guess I did finish this one. This was my self-portrait one. This was me. I was Rainbow Power. Of course. Anyways, who knows? Maybe someday I'll have to bring this back. But As you can see, I spent a lot of time on this thing. That's so embarrassing. I don't know. I hope you guys kind of like get a kick out of it a little bit. But yeah, I just loved Sailor Moon everything, and I constantly was working on Sailor Moon. So this is like really nostalgic and a blast from the past to be working on the Sailor Scouts again. I don't know, like it kind of, for real, it gives me like the warm fuzzies. Okay, so enough of that. So let's start on this Sailor Venus. And I guess hopefully this one looks better than the ones that I used to do. If not, well, screw it. I'm still enjoying myself. Okay, guys. So let's get into the questions while I... Oh, crap. Oh, my God. My necklace is caught on my chair. Oh, my God. Hold on. Oh, my God. All right. Oh, Jesus. I'm free. Okay, that seriously just happened, and I'm not even kidding, and I'm not going to edit it out. This is a day in the life. This is me, guys. This is what my day-to-day world is like. Also, I wanted to apologize. I think on the last paint along, you guys totally caught me. I didn't think you would, but I accidentally deleted one of my camera footage pieces, and that made my dialogue that's filmed on the other camera right here be out of sync. And it's really a pain because there's not really any way that you can fix it. So I tried to kind of patch it with some other footage that I had. And you guys were like, it doesn't match up, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm sorry. It was either that or not use any of it. So I'm sorry about that. I'm going to try and be more careful. I made these nifty little numbers so I can like sync up my videos. So like, okay, here's number 2 and here's number 2. And then I make sure that I have each of those clips. It's all very organized. So hopefully that won't happen again. Sorry about that. I know that was like kind of weird. Okay, so going back to my YouTube questions. A question from Mariah S. And Mariah S. asks, I was wondering if you had a good video editing software that you would recommend. I'd like to start making my own YouTube videos, and I'm trying to learn about it before I get started, and I can't find any good information or where anyone has answered this. I'm surprised you can't find any good information. There's lots of stuff online about that. But I'm not really the best person to ask. I use iMovie, which just comes on your Mac. So that's what I learned to use. If you have fundage, I would recommend, I think it's Final Cut. I've heard that Final Cut is a really nice editing software. However, I haven't used that. So I've only used, like I said, what came on my own computer. Again, I'm not the best expert. Maybe you guys, some of you are YouTubers, you could suggest something else. But yeah, I've heard Final Cut's good, so maybe check that out if you want something that can do a little bit more. Mine is like super basic. If you have Windows, you can't use iMovie, so you'll have to find a different source for that. Okay, Leo K asks, Leilani, have you ever gotten a space or booth in a convention like San Diego Comic-Con? If so, how do you get that spot? Do you request, reserve a spot, or are you invited to have a booth? I hope to sell my art at a con someday, and whenever I go to the internet, I can't seem to find an answer. Well, I've done lots of cons. I have never done Comic-Con in San Diego for a few reasons. But to first address your question, every con is a little bit different. Most of them you can apply. Most of the time they're by approval. So there'll be a team that's going to first approve your request. There's been cons that I haven't gotten into for, whatever reason. But you got to look at the individual conventions, vendor guidelines, and they have an application. So all of them have an application. What are you going to sell? They usually want to see your website, what kind of things. You usually have to have a seller's permit before you can do a con, so keep that in mind. it's different from state to state. So I don't know what state you live in. In California, you have to have a California sales license, resale license, which I do have. So just research the specific con that you want to do. Comic-Con, for example, I haven't done for a couple reasons. The first reason is that, frankly, I don't know if I'm ready for it yet. I've only been to it once, and it was super, super intense. And I think you really kind of have to be tough to hang in there all those days. And the other thing is that it's super, super expensive. I think a booth is in the thousands of dollars. So, I mean, you definitely have to have a lot of inventory. You have to either drive it down there or ship it. It's kind of intense. So I don't usually do cons that cost thousands of dollars. I think you can get an artist's alley, table, but even those are like several hundred. And those are really competitive. It's really hard to get one. I have some friends that do it, but they've been in it for a long time. So I know that it's actually not super easy to get into Comic-Con. If you want to get into Comic-Con, I would recommend starting with some of their other shows, like WonderCon or Ape or whatever. So San Diego Comic-Con is part of like a group of cons. So check out their website and you can see all the different conventions that they do. And that'll give you an idea. It's easier to get into the smaller ones first. But I would definitely hold off on Comic-Con for now. Because that's like basically saying, I want to go into acting and I want an Academy Award right now. So that's like the biggest con. And it's a little intense. So start with some smaller ones. Start with some local ones. And get your feet wet a little bit first, and then work your way up to that one. I haven't worked my way up to Comic-Con, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, Love Ray Yaks asks, hi, you're one of my biggest inspirations in art. Thank you. I love the way you draw and paint. I was wondering if you have any experience with digital art. Is it cheaper and easier than traditional art? Yeah, I do have experience with digital art. I mean, I've got some other videos. I haven't done it for a while, just because, I don't know, lately I've just sort of been more into the traditional, but I do a bit of both. As my longtime watchers know, I don't usually, I don't have a Wacom tablet, so I don't draw digitally much. I just scan my drawings, and then I paint, or then I use Photoshop, but I don't actually do the drawing digitally. As far as it being cheaper and easier, no, not at all. I don't really know. I feel like that's kind of a common misnomer. I don't know why people think it would be. Maybe just because here's the thing. Let me burst this bubble. The computer does many things for us, but it does not create art. The computer doesn't do anything for you. It's just another medium. So it's not like you're going to be like, computer, I want a picture of a car, and it's going to make it. No, you have to do it yourself. So that's definitely not true that it's easier. In some ways it's harder, especially if you're used to traditional art. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to make that crossover. As far as it being cheaper, also, I would disagree. Probably a lot disagree. The equipment required to be a professional digital artist is like insanely expensive. The laptops, the software, Photoshop is like thousands of dollars. The Cintiq or whatever the tablet that you want to use are also in the thousands of dollars. So I guess once you actually have the equipment, it might be cheaper, but it would take a very long time for it to actually equalize with your traditional medium. Watercolors are cheap. I've been using the same watercolors for like 10 years, and I've had to go through like 2 or 3 laptop computers in that time, so don't really agree with that one either. It's just another medium. If it's something that you want to learn, that's cool. But if you're looking for like an easier way, it's not easier. It's, in some respects, can be faster since you can make changes quicker. I'll have Brian come and talk to you guys one of these days, because my boyfriend's a concept designer and he's pretty much exclusively a digital artist. And he can tell you a bit more about that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really think it is cheaper or faster. Lambda P asks, I was wondering what your opinion is of art contests. I read an article that said a lot of contests are just a scam for money, and some artists' work can be stolen. I would love to hear your thoughts and or recommendations. That's an interesting one. For the most part, I would agree with that article that you read. I think you should be very careful about contests. I personally wouldn't recommend entering any contest that requires you to pay for it. I never have. I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like, I guess they call it like a jury fee or something. But honestly, if there's nothing in it for you, I wouldn't recommend that. I definitely think that could be kind of scammy. It's like, take all these aspiring artists' money and then they don't get anything out of it. If it's a juried show or something, like, you may get to potentially have your work shown somewhere in a gallery or some other event, then it might be worth it. Because, yeah, sometimes there's like, application fees, something like that. But any kind of contest that wants you to pay to enter the contest, I don't really see what the point of that would be. So I wouldn't really recommend that. I definitely think that some companies and things sort of use that, to take advantage of artists. They'll be like, yeah, just pay this money and your artwork might be featured on our product, but it's kind of like they're getting artists to pay to do the work they want done. Does that make sense? So basically they disguise it as a contest because they don't want to actually pay for a commission. So they have a bunch of artists audition, pay for the audition, and then they pick one. And I think that's kind of shady myself personally. So I would definitely be careful with that. And Lambda, that's a good point, is some of them have some kind of strange fine print. Like, by sending us your contest entry, you're giving us full copyrights to do whatever we want with it. Stay away from that. Read carefully before you enter something like that. Be you wary. Okay, so I'm gonna experiment with some salt today. I love a good salting. So salt and watercolor sometimes have some cool effects, and I want to create kind of like a planet texture. So I'm gonna put I've got some chunky salt. This is sea salt. I'm gonna put some here. We'll just see what happens. I haven't used this in a while. And I also have some regular table salt. Just shake a little bit of that on there. Let's see, and we'll kind of let that dry. And then we'll see what happens. Usually it kind of absorbs the paint and it gives kind of like a cool texture. So you can kind of see it already doing that, which is kind of neat, kind of cool. Okay, so let's let our little salt bake on there. We'll continue on a different area. So something to watch out for with watercolor is, I think somebody did later on ask me about watercolor tips. If you have two areas that you want to be different colors, you cannot paint them if they're touching each other while one of them is still wet. Because what happens is, let me do a little demonstration for you. So let's say you want to have red here. Okay, so that's this. And then let's say then next to this is her, let's say this is her hair or something. So she's wearing a blue dress. So you're kind of impatient. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to paint the blue dress next. So you're going to paint the blue dress, and look what happens when you do that, you paint another color next to the color that is not dried, you can see that it'll bleed right into it. And maybe that's what you want. It's kind of like a cool effect. But if you paint two different colors right next to each other before it's dried, you're going to get this yucky, ooh, although actually it's kind of pretty in this case, but you're going to get bleed over. So you're not going to get a clean edge. So watch out for that. The thing about watercolor is you have to exercise some patience. So you do need to do that, which watercolor, or, you know, acrylic, you can paint pretty fast and don't really have to worry about that too much. But with watercolor, you have to wait sometimes for certain areas to be dry. Okay, so cool. I'm gonna let our little planet Venus dry, and we'll continue painting her orange clothes here. All right, where was I? Okay, Tan Ta asks, how do you know how your character is going to pose? That's a good question. Well, I don't know. Different ways. Sometimes I kind of have it in my head. I sort of like see sort of what I want. Sometimes I already have an existing photo reference, or I saw a photo reference somewhere that I liked, that I want to work from. And other times I have a rough idea and I take a photo reference. I do that a lot, because I'll have just, you know, sort of a vague idea in my head, and then I will I usually take several photo references, and then I'll kind of pick out of those which one I think works the best. So I don't know, different ways. Sometimes a piece starts with a photo reference that I liked the pose, and then I change it and make it into my own thing. I don't know. It's not really like an exact science, but usually it's one of those methods. So hopefully that helps you out. Autumn Y asks, do you guys mind, sometimes I like edit out your last name. I just use your first initial because I don't know, sometimes like you don't want your name on there. I don't know. Anonymous. Autumn Y asks, do you ever get neck pain, back pain, hand cramps from doing this? If not, how do you avoid it? If so, is there any way to avoid it? I'm in pain all the time. For real, I'm messed up. I'm gonna be a hunchback old lady. I get neck and back pain. So for one thing, the way I paint is terrible for your back, but it is good for videos. So having my painting flat here on the table, as you guys see, requires me to sort of like hunch over it a little bit. It's much better. I have a little portable easel where you can tilt your artwork up and you can sit up straight and paint this way, which is much, much better for your back. So I don't recommend working the way I work. It's just, this is how I film, so I kind of like have to. I don't know. A massage is great. I can rarely afford those, but if you can get massages, that's good. Exercise, stretching, yoga. I do try to do a bit of that to kind of break that up because, yeah, my neck gets really bad. I also have I guess they call it RSI, or repetitive stress, in my hand and wrist. Yes, I do. God, I'm such an old lady already. But I did get a different computer setup. I have like an ergonomic mouse now. I think I might have showed you guys this forever ago. And I have this elbow rest that moves when I use my mouse, so that helps relieve some of that pressure off my arm from just the computer work that I often do. Yeah, that's about all you can do. Definitely try to take care of your body, because, you know, I've heard some horror stories about poor artists that have had to have wrist surgeries, things like that. You know what else I think is good are like those squeezy balls. for your wrists and your hands. If anybody else has suggestions, feel free to chime in here and help us out. I think those are good. They have some other things. My boyfriend's also a rock climber, so he's got all these like hand exercise things around the house. So I'll use those sometimes. Those can be really helpful. So hopefully that might help you. Be cautious, be careful. If it hurts, stop doing it if you can. I know it's hard sometimes. Right, next I've got a question from Jill S. And she asks, I have a long-winded question, oh boy, about prints. Okay, let's see if this is different. I have answered lots of questions about prints, and I have a big explanation about prints on my FAQ page, so let's see though if this is different. When you're making prints to get a certain size, would you crop your artwork to fit? For example, if you want to do 8x10 prints of your artwork, but it was originally done in 11x14, would you crop it to fit after you resize, or resize it to fit into the 8x10 and leave some extra white space around it? So what Jill's asking is if your artwork is a different dimension than the print you're going to make, what should you do? And the answer to that is it's up to you. Artists do this differently. I personally like to keep this in mind when I'm doing the painting. Since most of my work is for resale purposes, I really like to keep standard frame sizes in mind. I know a lot of artists don't really bother with this because they're just like, I just want to paint in whatever format I have laying around, or just whatever composition that feels right, and that's all very awesome. But as many of you guys know, like, custom framing is such a pain in the butt, and it's super expensive. And yeah, I don't like to put my customers through custom framing if they don't have to. So typically I paint within the parameters of standard frame sizes. So 8x10, 11x14. 11x14 and 8x10 have like the same dimensions, or they're very close. So that's super easy to translate one to the other, as long as they're the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Not ratio? Yeah, the same aspect ratio. Thank you, brain. As long as they have the same aspect ratio, it's easy to go from one to the other. If they're not, then you can make the choice to either crop or leave white space, which could be corrected by a mat, or again, would need to be custom matted and framed. So I can't really tell you. I've bought art in both cases. So I have an example to show you guys. This is a print that I just bought, a limited edition signed print from one of my favorite artists ever, Stella Imholtberg. And this is, I believe the paper is an 8x10. However, this was originally from her Moleskine sketchbook, actually, which is really cool. So in this particular case, she chose to leave a white edge. So, I mean, I think it looks totally fine. But I usually do a full bleed, so I have the image actually come to the edge of the paper, so then, the collector can mat it or frame it, whatever. Either works. I think this is totally fine. I think it's really pretty that they left it in its original format with like the curved edge of the Moleskine sketchbook. So, I don't know. It's up to you. Whatever you think looks better. Sometimes if you had an odd format, I think it's best to preserve that instead of cropping it. So yeah, they're kind of a long-winded answer to basically tell you, you decide. Okay, my next question comes from Rachel T. And she asks, what do you do when you're working on a piece that lacks life or energy? I frequently have this problem and was wondering what tips you may have. Oh, that's a hard question. I think, I mean, I've talked about this briefly before. Sorry if I keep saying that. It depends. Maybe your process, again, is not quite flowing for you. You may be struggling with your medium. Or I think another thing that happens to a lot of artists is like they hang on to their reference like a security blanket, and they just don't want to let go of it, and they're just like, okay, just make it look just like the reference photo. And a lot of times when you do that, it just, the energy just kind of dies. Like the reference photo, you're trying to be so precise that it loses that energy. I think I mentioned this process, the Ian McCaig process, on the last video, so I won't talk about it too much. But basically what he says is that you should always do a drawing without reference first, then do a second drawing where you use reference, and then do a final third drawing once you've done, and then combining those two, basically. Because do you ever notice how often like your super rough drawing like has this really great energy? I ran into this just recently with this Princess Mononoke piece that I just finished. And this was kind of, this was the rough sketch that I did. You guys saw this on the last paint along. But it just had like a nice energy, especially in the face. And I just really got attached to that. And then when I started painting her, it got lost in there somewhere. I don't know. I just didn't really like it. And the funny part is I sold it as is in the Bad Apple auction, and I just really wasn't happy with it. And the buyer just happened to fall through. But anyways, it allowed me to work on it further. So I reworked her face quite a bit, actually, if you saw the last one. And I think I brought that energy back. I think. I wasn't satisfied with it before. But now I think I kind of got that expression in the eyes that I really wanted. This is for sale, by the way. This is looking for a home. I'm going to have her framed for you. So if you want to buy her, I'll get a cool frame. But you can find it in my Etsy shop. And if you did do a rough sketch like I did, and you can't quite see what is missing from your painting, I would just say kind of do an analysis of the sketch and be like, what are these little things that make this better, and see if you can translate that into your final piece. That's kind of what I did on that one. I just was like, okay, her eyes are a little bit darker around the edges and stuff, so I really wanted that to come through. Okay, Crystal S asks, I have tried using the transfer paper in the past and it turned out horribly. The Saral. Do you have any tips and tricks on using the paper other than making sure that it doesn't move? Well, I don't know. I need more details. What do you mean I don't know what you mean by it turned out horribly. Did it move? Was it smudged? So a couple of things that may have gone wrong. First of all, if you didn't tape your drawing very steady, then it might have wiggled. You don't want it to wiggle, because then you're going to get some really weird things happening. The other thing that may have happened to you, because this has happened to me, is that I tend to put my hand, like rest my hand on my painting while I'm transferring it, because I'm kind of holding it steady. But when you do that, when you put your fingers or your palm down, you're creating an impression. So that's going to push the Saral onto your canvas. So you're going to have a big ugly smudge, and it is kind of hard to take off. So that's why, for one, I always put a layer of matte medium on my surface before I transfer, because then you can wipe it off with some rubbing alcohol and it won't damage your background. But so one thing that you can do to avoid that particular problem is that you can create some little masks just with cutout paper. So like, let's say you didn't want to get smudges in these areas, take a piece of whatever, just like regular printer bond paper, and cut out, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just cut out the areas that are not going to get any transfer, and then you can tape that down, and then when you put your Saral on top of it, then you're going to have it protected, right, with the paper. So you can even cut out shapes, and kind of just tape them down just to protect from your hand resting. So that might be an issue. And the final thing that might be happening to you is you might be transferring using like too thick of a pen or something. So maybe like the pen that you're using to trace your transfer is like kind of fat. So you're going to get like a really heavy line. So be careful of that. If you're heavy-handed anyways, you're going to have this really heavy line. So you might want to use like a sharper like ballpoint or like something that has like this, right? Oh, not that. That's a marker. I don't know. I don't have an example. Well, this is like super tiny fine point tip. That's going to make your line a different quality. So maybe hopefully one of those things will help you. The other thing you might try is they have other colors other than graphite. I think they have like blue or yellow. So maybe you'd like something lighter. So that's not gonna the graphite can be really heavy. It can create kind of a dirty look. So I don't know, maybe try that, or maybe transferring is just not the technique for you. Again, there's other ways of doing it. If you don't want to do that, maybe you'd rather work digitally or make a Xerox and work on top of that, or a Xerox. What is it, 1980? Make a photocopy and do it that way. Okay. I have a question next from Ariel S, and she says, I was wondering how to become a seller on the Bad Apple Artist Collective. So yeah, I guess I haven't answered this for you guys. So we're an invite only group, sorry to say. So we don't accept, like, we're not currently accepting any new members, and we're only like, so within the collective, we sort of like nominate artists that we feel that would be a good fit. And then we do a voting type thing, and that's kind of how we do it. If you want to be considered for a future nomination, you can send us your website and portfolio on the Facebook page or from our website, and we will definitely take a look at it. However, we do, like, at this point, we're really looking for artists that have a very strong fan base. So we want to see your, Instagram followers, Facebook, kind of looking for artists that have at least 10,000 fans or so, possibly more. Definitely have some galleries experience, things like that. So yeah, but if you have those things, awesome. And you would also need to be willing to do an original painting every month. Sometimes I get a little bit behind, but mostly I try to do, kind of keep up my commitment to that. So there's some different things that you would have to abide by. If that sounds like you're a good fit. The other thing is we don't look for artists who are too similar to the ones we already have. So, I'm not sure what your work is like, but take a look at our existing artists. We usually try to add artists that are very unique from the artists that we already have. So keep that in mind. Okay, next I have a question from the Artistic Wallflower. Do you think an artist is ever too young to be competent at art? No, absolutely not. I there's some like child prodigy artists out there. I mean, I've seen them like, dang, like I should just quit now, right? So no, I don't think that at all. It's different for everybody. I didn't have like much in the way of art programs growing up. My schools didn't really, their idea of art class was like, we had this like crazy art teacher that like would make us do like interpretive dance and stuff, and I'm like, are we ever gonna draw anything? And I don't know, it's kind of weird. So I didn't really have that too much. But no, hey, you can always learn, practice. So I think there's definitely tons and tons of artists younger than me that are way better than me. So I definitely don't think that age has anything to do with it. Kristen Alicia 25S. If you took the line work from your paintings and came out with a Coloring the Art of Leilani Joy, I would buy a few. I color with my 3-year-old son every day, and there aren't many strong female characters in coloring book form. Oh, thank you. Actually, since I had mentioned that, I didn't mean, like, so the way I said that, I was like, I hate it when people recommend things to me. I didn't really mean it like that, because actually, coloring book is a great idea. The reason I can't, it's not really because I don't have the drawings, but it's more a matter of like getting it produced. I I've looked into a few things similar to that. And it's really expensive to like have books made. I don't know if any of you guys have experience with this. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they have some print on demand services, but again, if it's going to cost you $20 a book, then there's no way you're going to sell a coloring book for $40. Maybe you could. So mostly you would have to either like self-publish one and have them made somewhere. That usually requires a lot of capital, which I don't personally have. So I don't have like a giant savings account to invest in, a few thousand coloring books. So does that make sense? I may do, I may do another Kickstarter at some point, and do it that way, but I kind of need to finish the Kickstarter that I already did last year before I do another one. So that's kind of why that is. I mean, I appreciate people's suggestions. I really do. I'm kind of like, well, unless you're like an investor that's going to pay for me to have these things made, I can't, there's like not a whole lot that I can personally do right now. It's there's some logistics involved in having something produced. All right. So that hopefully answers that question. But again, would love to do it someday. Be cool. I'd really like to do an art book, actually. I recently found this art book that I'm like obsessed with, and I would really, really love to do something like that. But it's a huge amount of work. Like, you guys, I don't even know if you know how much work it is to just make one piece, but like to do, I mean, you could do a collection of your existing works, of course, but let me I have to show you guys this really quick because it's so inspiring. This is a book that I got recently in Japantown, and it's called The Rock Book by Vox the Rock Book by Matteo De Longis. And it's like an album, which I think just made me pick it up because this is so freaking cool. And he did like the whole book is sort of like a central theme. Sorry, so there's some girls in like undies and stuff in here. So if that bothers you, then you won't really like this. But it's got like some graphic novel kind of stuff, but a lot of it is like centered around music and bands and instruments and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, but I'm just freaking obsessed with this book. I love everything about it. And after I bought it, I had this like mini meltdown where I'm like, I just want to be this guy. I just want to be him. I want to do these drawings and I just want to take over his body and just like have all of his ideas and not do my own artwork anymore because clearly he's already super awesome and he's way more awesome than I am. Okay, but enough about, I digress. Hey, so you guys recently told me that that's my catchphrase. I didn't even realize it, and you're so absolutely right. Leilani Joy, I digress. That is my, totally my catchphrase. I digress often. Anyways, I love this book, and I would love to do something like that someday. I don't know if I can do anything as cool as that, but... Alright, where was I? Jess M asks, how do you become more confident in your work? I find that if I look at anything I do for any length of time, I start picking it apart and end up hating it. Does this ever happen to you? Oh my god, I swear to god, sometimes the irony in the order of these questions is so freaking funny to me. Because you just witnessed me have like a total self-conscious meltdown when looking at Matteo De Longis' work and wishing I was someone else. So, maybe I'm not the best person to ask. Because clearly I have problems. I mean, I feel like I've definitely addressed things similar to that. Oh, just keep doing it, like for real, like it's so hard. If you keep doing it, if you keep just being like, well, I hate that one, do a new one. Oh, I hate that one, I do a new one. I hate that one, I do a new one. I swear, eventually it is going to get better. Just like it happens naturally because the more you practice, right, the more you're like, okay, well, try to analyze yourself a little bit more specifically than just being like, I hate it. Why? Why did you hate it? Did you not like the color scheme? Was your anatomy incorrect? Is that what bothered you? Did you not like the medium? Did you struggle with the medium? So try to ask yourself those questions and then try to make a change in the next piece that you do. Yeah, because that's the only way you're gonna kind of keep learning, right? It's a learning process. We're all learning. I do this with every piece that I do, and sometimes I take, one step forward and two steps back. So I'm in the same boat with you. So, it's hard to give you the best advice because I feel exactly the same way. I'm still learning. When I have the answer to that someday, maybe I will share with you, but I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So good luck. And maybe at least you know that you're not alone now. Okay, Cheyenne FS, do you have any advice for someone starting out with watercolors? Well, I think I actually, at the beginning of this video, talked about that. So hopefully you can just go back a tick and see if that advice helps you. The biggest advice I can have with watercolors is sort of just enjoy the way the medium works. And you can get some control. Obviously I can, but sometimes the fun of watercolors is that it's not completely in your control. So kind of just let it do its thing, if you will. Don't oversaturate. So that's one thing that can be definitely a problem when you're first starting out. You're a little bit timid. So you will want to fix areas. So the wetter you get it, the more, the better quality your paper, definitely the better. So start with that. Get the best kind of paper you can get. I recommend getting a watercolor block instead of paper. That way you don't have to do the stretching. I don't actually do it. Okay, so technically there's a way that you're supposed to stretch watercolor paper. You're supposed to wet it and get it really smooth, and then you tape it down while it's wet, and you do all this stuff, and then you let it dry, and then it's stretched and it's really tight. And it's really hard. It's really hard. I did it in school a few times, and it kind of sucks. And if you screw it up, then the paper is ruined. So I usually just kind of tape the paper while it's dry. And then if it gets a little bit wrinkled, I will just spray the back of the painting with a little spray bottle with a little water, and I would put it under some really heavy books or flatten it down in my scanner. And usually that totally fixes the problem. But if you use a watercolor block, those are kind of the best because the paper is already stretched, and then when you're done painting, you just take an X-Acto blade and you can just cut it on the edges. So get one of those if you want to practice with it, because paper wrinkling is kind of a super annoying side effect of watercolor. So hopefully that will help. Okay, Ruby Q asks, what advice would you give on drawing guys? As someone else? I'm surprised that anyone would ask me that, because most of the time people are always asking me the opposite. Like, why don't I draw guys? Why can't you draw guys? Blah, blah, blah. My advice is this, though. I don't know. Don't think of it so literally. Don't think of it like, I can't draw guys. I can't draw, you can. If you can draw, you can draw anything, right? So, if you know the basics, it's really not that big of a difference. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, there are certain things that make women look feminine and men look masculine, so you should keep those things in mind. But I would never, say, oh, no, I can't draw that particularly. Why not? It's just lines. It's just lines and shading. There's no reason why you can't. If you can draw a tree, you could draw a car. You just have to look at what it looks like and make similar lines, right? if you really break it down, that's all it's really about. So drawing guys, I would get an anatomy book again, I think I've showed you guys. Whoops, sorry, things falling down. I already showed you guys this. Anatomy for the Artist. This is a fantastic book for drawing both men and women. It's got, again, the skeletor, the skeletal system, muscles. It's even got a breakdown of this stuff. So this is a great reference. So I don't know, use reference. If you want to do like stylized guys, then I mean there's some good reference out there for that too. I mean, like, look at superheroes. Those are a really great reference, like Marvel, DC, whatever, Superman, Batman. You know, they usually have square jaws, they are like broad shouldered, so those actually can be really useful references in making your figures look more masculine if you're having trouble with that. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. All right, so I don't have too many questions left. I know I'm probably pushing my 1 hour episode time limit already. So here we go. Let's keep answering questions. Next up, I have a question from Diana B. And oh, so fittingly, she asks, which is your favorite Sailor Scout from Sailor Moon? Oh my God, I think this was a total coincidence, because at the time when Diana asked this, I was not doing Sailor Moon pieces. So, wow, she's psychic. Call Diana today for your free psychic reading. Oh gosh, this is such a hard question. When I watched the show, when it was on, I don't know, Sailor Jupiter was sort of my favorite. I don't know, I just kind of liked her can-do attitude. She was kind of a tomboy. I liked that. I was never a good cook like she was. But I liked her colors. I don't know. She kind of like seemed kind of tough, which I liked. I wanted to be more like her, and she was always like friendly, and yeah, I liked Jupiter a lot. So it's funny. Speaking of Sailor Venus to me, I was always kind of like, she's always so perfect. Like, I always felt like she was sort of that girl that like everyone wanted to be like, and she was like a superstar and everything. And I just was kind of like, oh my God, I'm just so much more like Serena or Usagi, I guess. I watched the dub English version, guys, so I mostly use the English dub names. So quite frankly, I was a lot more like Sailor Moon, personally. I was falling down all the time. I never had any dates. I did do my homework, though, so I guess homework-wise, I was a little more like Amy. But, yeah, so I definitely think sort of Sailor Moon and Jupiter were my favorites. I liked Saturn. I just thought she was really cool, even though she was so sad and she had all these problems. But I wanted to be like her, because she was kind of like this cool like goth vibe about her, so I liked her a lot. My sister's favorite was Ray, was Sailor Mars, so we kind of always had this like fun thing because that was her favorite, and we argued a lot, so I guess we were like Serena and Ray a lot. So yeah, I don't know, I guess I would pick Sailor Moon because then I would get to end up with the tuxedo mask, and that wouldn't be so bad. All right, Monica S asks, what would you do if YouTube was not a thing anymore? Would you quit art or get an art job? Oh, I would not quit art. Oh my goodness. I've been an artist long before YouTube, and I plan to be an artist long after YouTube. YouTube is not why I do art. Hopefully you guys do realize that. YouTube is a tool. YouTube is a fantastic tool for us to hang out and create together, and for me to, like, interact with pretend internet friends. No, I love it. It's been a great venue. I've gotten to know a lot of you guys, and like I said, I didn't really have anybody when so there was no YouTube for me when I was learning. And I didn't really, most of my friends were not artists, so I didn't really have anybody to relate to. My parents weren't artists. I didn't have anyone to ask for advice or anything. And so I think YouTube is really awesome. Like, I wish I would have had YouTube. I still find it really inspiring to see how other people do things and like learn from them. I just think it's one of the coolest things that's happened to us artists. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, we all may have to adapt someday. Who knows? Maybe one day the internet will just be gone forever, and we'll have to figure out some other way to communicate. All right. Laura L asks, I would really enjoy if you painted Padme Amidala from Star Wars. I like when she has some sort of alien geisha look makeup and cool headpiece. So, irony, when I was talking earlier about the Ian McCaig method of illustration, yeah, I've mentioned him before. He designed Padme Amidala and most of her costumes and what she would look like. So, kind of, yeah, fangirling about that. I've gotten to talk to him and hang out with him a little bit before. Awesome guy. But yeah, he is responsible for Padme Amidala. So quite frankly, I don't think I could ever draw her because he's already done her so epically well that I don't know. The other thing about that, without getting super nerdy and without going on a nerd tirade, I hate the prequels. I hate the Star Wars prequels. I'm kind of in that club. I mean, except for, again, Amidala's a beautiful fashion. So if you guys, does anybody know what Red Letter Media is or Mr. Plinkett? It's one of my favorite. I forgot to mention this before. They're some of my favorite online movie reviewers that I watch. They're on YouTube and they have their own website. Anyways, these guys have like a 5-hour analysis of why the prequels are the most horrible movies ever made. And quite frankly, I agree with them, and it's super comedic and funny to watch. It's coming from someone who loves Star Wars. I love Star Wars, the original Star Wars, and I am looking forward to the new one. The new one looks awesome, but those freaking prequels, oh my god, how can anyone stand it? They're so boring, like, and nothing makes any sense. So yeah, anyways, that got a bit nerdy. Okay, I only have a few more questions here, so I want to kind of tear through them so we can finish up, and I will have Sailor Venus done super soon for you guys. Yay. Okay. So we've come to it. I don't typically respond to haters, but I did get a comment on my last paint along, and I just want to briefly address it without starting any drama. But this person, who I'm not going to mention, they were quite nasty to me and was saying that I have a expletive attitude about art. And I was very surprised to hear that. Number one, I've never had anyone tell me I had a negative attitude. I mean, apparently I do. I don't know. But they said that I had a bad attitude, and they said that I was treating commissioners like they were idiots because of, I guess, something I said about sometimes the type of questions that I get. And they also said that I laugh at people that send me requests, and they finished it off by saying that I'm turning young artists away from wanting to learn, and that I should just shut up and stick to speed paintings. And I just wanted to respond to that for a moment because I was a little bothered by it. But honestly, I use the paint-alongs to kind of give you guys an honest opinion about these questions. I mean, I think it's really easy to sugarcoat it and just say it's all fine and dandy, but it's not. And I make the assumption that most of you guys who are watching this are artists as well. And I'm never meaning to insult anyone who wants to commission me or sends me a request, quite frankly, because I'm very flattered by any requests, and definitely flattered when someone wants to hire me for a commission. I simply meant on the last video that I do feel that sometimes people don't do their research, and I said this in the last video, so I don't know why they're like calling me out. They don't mean to insult the artist, like when they say, well, I don't want to pay that much, or can you use cheaper paper? I mean, those are real questions I get. I'm not making them up, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone. They're just things that happen, and I just think it's because they don't know. So I don't mean any ill will towards them. I definitely didn't call them stupid or idiots, or, I mean, I did not say that. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to defend myself very briefly against that comment because I just don't think it's true. And if you think that I have a crappy attitude, as you said, then you haven't been around very many artists. Oh man, because I've been around some at some things at conventions and things. I've encountered some very pretentious attitudes like you can't do what I do, and I'm not in that park at all. So I'm just very sad, I guess, that that person thinks that because I don't. Yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Just wanted to like clear the air, I guess. If anyone agreed with them, hopefully they didn't. I never mean to badmouth people. I don't feel that way. I try to give you guys kind of some honest feedback. And the other thing, they said, they like, oh, how dare you like not answer everyone's questions and tell them to read your FAQs. Well, that's simply because if you guys watch this, why would you want to watch me answer the same questions over and over again? That's no fun. And I took my free time to write my FAQ page to help you. So if you're mad that I have an FAQ page that you have to read, then I'm sorry you're so lazy. I don't know. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with that. I don't really like to like give much of my time to negativity. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, final question is from Abby Imaginary, and she asks, will there be another collaboration contest anytime soon? And sadly, my answer to that is probably not, because I just don't have time. I'm very sorry. The collaboration contests, as much as I love them, and I do want to do another one in the future, they're just super, super time consuming for me because I have to usually create a prompt or finish the piece, and I usually get hundreds and hundreds of entries, which is so awesome, but I have to kind of keep track of all of them and post them online. So I just don't have the free time right now. My main focus is to complete my online classes, so I'm just focusing on that right now. So, okay, well, I had a few more questions I wanted to get to, but I don't want this video to run too long. So I will pick it up on another episode right where I left off. I hope you guys had fun on this episode. See, the nice thing about watercolor is you actually can get quite a bit done in one sitting. I usually can paint a little faster than in real life when I'm not doing these paint-along. But I'll have an Inktober episode of Venus coming up soon. And if you like Sailor Venus, she will be available in my Etsy store very soon. And I'm also going to have prints of her as well, because I got so many requests for that. Oh, before I go, sorry, one more question, because I've gotten this question several times about my Sailor Moon series, and I've gotten it on Facebook, and I think I'll probably get it on here too, so I'll just answer it quickly before I go. So people have been saying, well, how come you're able to do fan art, and should you be selling that? Didn't you say you can't do that? And all that. So I just thought I would answer quickly. The answer is this is copyright infringement. Technically, yes. I am using this is a derivative work of an original work that was not my idea. However, in this particular case, I mean, I'm not saying this is an excuse because everybody's doing it. I mean, fan art and tribute like shows and artwork is very trendy right now. So basically the answer is like, okay, I'm taking a risk. Yes, I am. If the owners of the Sailor Moon characters come to me tomorrow and say, you cannot sell that, stop, then I will have to stop. Typically they will send you a warning first if this happens, which something like Sailor Moon is like kind of not safe, but it's such a huge, like there's so much tribute art and fan art that they don't really care. They don't really police it. But the answer is, yeah, I'm taking a slight risk. Anything that's fan art, Princess Mononoke as well, even though, again, both of these works are not copied from anything. They are original, but they are based off existing characters. So anything that's based off existing characters is considered copyright infringement. But there's so much art that would be in violation of this that, I mean, so I don't know if that is a clear-cut answer, but the answer is you decide if you want to take the risk. And in this case, I'm taking it. Again, if something happens and they say you need to take that down immediately, then obviously I will, and sadly, that's the end of that. But yeah, so mostly I do try to do my own characters because of this, but sometimes I want to get in on the fun and do fan art too. So, I mean, you guys just have to kind of decide that for yourselves. Okay, well, I will see you guys on another episode super soon, and keep those questions coming. Remember to add #AskLJ in your comment, and I will hopefully get to it on a future episode. All right, guys, see ya. Bye-bye. Keep creating.